Nervous Nick!
Hey, what's going on? It's your old pal Nervous Nick, and today I'm going to talk to you about the mid-90s side-scrolling beat-em-up, The Death and Return of Superman. So once upon a time, back before Blizzard wowed us with Warcraft, they took a stab at the Man of Steel on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Gotta say, big fan of how the main title screen pays homage to Action Comics number 683. You know, the one where all we see of Doomsday is this big old fist puncher through that wall, like, I'm gonna kill you, Superman! That's what Doomsday sounds like in my mind. But for those of you not in the know, The Death of Superman was a story from the comics that lasted from December 92 all the way to October 93, and it tackled the question, what would happen if Superman went up against a guy he couldn't defeat? But before I start into the game, I want to give you guys a couple super fun facts. Did you know that Doomsday wouldn't have been created had it not been for the Lois and Clark TV show? It's true. The story goes, a couple of writers at DC were going over what they wanted to do with Superman in the following year. They wanted to put together a huge event and decided it should be Superman and Lois are finally getting married, but parent company Warner Brothers said they couldn't do it because they were planning on Lois and Clark getting married in the TV series and they didn't want the comic to take the impact away from the show and all that kind of thing. It's kind of funny when you look at it decades later, seeing as how Superman comics are still being discussed and no one's talking about Lois and Clark. And so the writers wrote down the name Doomsday, as in this was when Superman dies. And after a while, the idea was thrown around, well, why don't we just call the enemy Doomsday? So there you have it. You can thank Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, for the creation of one of the most iconic comic book bad guys, like ever. But we're here to talk about this good old Superman video game, so let's get back to that. Graphics-wise, gotta say, it looks pretty good for mid-90s standards. The controls are reminiscent to that of a traditional beat-em-up like Final Fight or Streets of Rage, what have you, but of course that means you're not going to get a huge variety of attacks from Superman. His basic moves are basically just punching. If you jump in the air and hit the attack button, you can dive at enemies kind of like in the Ninja Turtles arcade game. Also, by hitting the jump button twice, Supes can fly. There's not a ton of use for it except for getting past a few obstacles like walls in your way, but I guess in battles you could use it to put distance between yourself and the enemies. However, the worst move that he has is his heat vision. Now, if you think about Superman in the comics using his heat vision, it's pretty epic, right? Anything in his literal line of sight is going to get destroyed in a huge display of awesome art. Here's what it looks like in the video game. Ooh, wow, that's awesome. Better sit down, Superman. You don't want to strain yourself, dude. And the sad part is that you can even hold the button down to give you the illusion that it's charging, but it doesn't make any difference. And it's pointless anyway, because it barely does any damage to any of the game's enemies. So why even have it? And lastly, there's a super move button, and if you press it, Superman will fly up into the sky, crash down, and destroy everyone on the screen. It's pretty cool. I bet you can only use it a few times. So let's talk about enemies, because this isn't going to take long. They're pretty generic, guys, not going to lie. Each level only has about 3 different versions of someone you can fight, and 2 of those bad guys are usually recolored versions of one another. So, not much variety. Now, this game is based on the Death and Return of Superman comics, where Doomsday was the big bad guy, right? Oh, okay, follow me on this. You would think that Doomsday would be the final boss of the game, right? Actually, no. He shows up as the boss of the 2nd level, and he's disappointingly easy to beat. Actually, he's insultingly easy to beat. If you get him in a corner and keep punching, you've basically won. Really disappointing considering who Doomsday is and how much of a threat he is in the comics. So, just like in the story from those comics, Superman dies, and I don't know how or why, considering how much of a wuss Doomsday is, but I guess they have to follow the narrative that's laid out for them. That's just how it goes. And if you are familiar with the Death of Superman, this game brings other characters you might recognize into the mix too, like Cyborg Superman, Steel, the Eradicator, and Superboy. All of them have their own levels and even meet up with each other. And I gotta point this out, because it's just absurd. In what universe is Steel more powerful than Doomsday? Look at this, I'm fighting Steel and I'm getting my butt whooped and I was able to beat Doomsday like he was nothing. Something is very wrong with this picture. And it's cool to be able to control other characters, but they all are basically just carbon copies of Superman. Their movesets are identical. That is, all except for their special moves, and it is kinda nice seeing each character do different things. But one good thing about playing as Steel is that he has the longest reach, so you won't get hit as much. One other thing I haven't brought up yet is the hit recovery time. It's not great. Alright, so look at this part with these falling spheres. I don't even have a chance to get out of the way. As soon as I get up from one, I get hit by another. Yeah, I'm sure this looks really funny to you guys, but you're not the ones playing it. Trust me, this is annoying beyond belief. So of course, just like in the comics, and I'm pretty sure I don't need to put a spoiler warning up for this, but Superman comes back. He shows up and has one final battle with Cyborg Superman. And I just love the last punch between them so much. He deals the finishing blow and just stands there like, yeah, I did that. So The Death and Return of Superman isn't an awesome game, and if you're not familiar with the comics, some of the story elements might be downright confusing. The narrative really doesn't tie together all that well. The bosses go from extremely simple to unnecessarily hard way too quick, and the stages really aren't that exciting to look at. Every now and then they'll throw in something different, but I feel like more could have been done with these environments. And I can only knock down the same enemies so many times before it gets tiresome. For a beat 'em up, it's at least playable, but I can't see many coming back to it once they've beaten it. And I'm at the bottom of the script now, and there are no more words for me to say about this video game. So hey, I'm Nervous Nick, and thank you for watching.